Good morning. What's happening, guys, girls? I think most of my viewers are girl or guys. Oh well. Anyway, here we are. We are this morning on the CFMoto IBEX 450, and we're going to see if it will commute. We have to go over those mountains right there, about 60 miles away. So the salt mine is over there. So let's go. All right, on the CFMoto IBEX 450 this morning, headed to work in this episode of Will It Commute? No, just kidding. That might be a cool series to do though, right? Got a crap ton of bikes in the garage now. I need to sell some. Might sell the Himalayan. If you're interested in my Himalayan Enduro, let me know. Anyway, yep, CFMoto IBEX 450 this weekend. After the great annual grand tour of the Grand Canyon, we returned back to Southern California, and my brother decided he wanted to join us more frequently on rides and wanted something to ride that was a little more capable than the Versys 300. He put like 1,500 miles on a Versys 300 in all types of scenarios, from technical single track to 80-mile-an-hour highway. And while the Versys 300 really did everything it was asked of it, with a 260-pound rider and 40 to 50 pounds of gear, you know, it just wasn't really 100% working out for him. We got into the hills and the mountains around St. George, and going uphill, even downshifting, he at that altitude, he was struggling to maintain 69 miles an hour. So we returned to California, and he bought himself a Yamaha T7, brand new, good looking bike. I'll be doing reviews of that bike as well. But while he was there, I noticed they had an IBEX 450 on the floor. And it seems to be kind of rare to see an IBEX on the floor here, on a showroom floor here in Southern California. And so I asked the salesman about it. He goes, yeah, it was their last one. They had 3. It just happened to be the color scheme I like. So I sat on it and I pushed on it, you know, and I've been saying from the time the 450 MT came out, if the opportunity arose, I would buy an IBEX 450. There's not a single negative review out there in YouTube land on this bike. If there is, I'm not aware of it. And so as the salesman was wrapping up the deal with the Tenere, which are Tenere, whichever you want to call it, I don't know. I call it a T7. Yeah, some people call it a Tenere. I call it a T7. But anyway, my brother mentioned to the sales dude, you know, my brother's kind of interested in that IBEX. What do you think? And a typical Southern California dealer will have like anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 additional dealer markup, right? And this one was sitting there with $1,500 additional dealer markup, and I'm not going to pay that. Just not going to do it. And so the salesman says, "You're interested in that, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. So let me see what I can do." And he comes back with MSRP plus tax and license. In California, that's almost unheard of with a lot of dealerships. So I jumped on it. You know, it's like $7,300 out the door. A lot of money, yeah, but anyway. So I bought it. And here we are. Dealership was Temecula Motorsports in Murrieta/Temecula, California. Kind of like right on the border. I'm not really sure what city it technically resides, but anyway, that's not important. What's important is we're on a new bike. Oh my God, and listen to it. The IBEX has an incredible engine sound. That 270-degree crank, you know, it just makes it sound like a V-twin and gives it so much character. Yeah, so good, so good. One of the things I was worried about was some of the reviews said, probably one of the only negative things about the bike was it might have, you know, some part throttle choppiness. I don't know if they fixed that or what, but I'm not feeling it. Maybe that'll, you know, come back after I do some off-road. I'm not going to do any off-road until I get a skid plate though, because the skid plate on this thing is, it's a gravel guard, it's not a skid plate, and we have big freaking rocks here. Listen to that growl, eh? So, let's see, you can see I did 50 miles on it the day I picked it up. And I'm trying to be nice to it. I don't normally abide by break-in, but because it's my first Chinese, well, not my first, but it's my first serious Chinese motorcycle, I'm trying to be nice to it. No high RPMs, let it warm up, put a lot of manifold pressure on it by basically bogging the motor, create some cylinder pressures in there, get those rings of seat. That's how we used to break in airplane engines. Got to work on this engine too, right? But yeah, I know some reviewers have mentioned this high beam switch is a little too far to the left. It's back here somewhere, right? And just operating the clutch, you can accidentally bump it. I have found that to be true. Not really a big deal. Just be aware that you could have your high beams on. The little blue light will come on. But for $6,500 MSRP, this bike is loaded with a lot of options, or not even options, standard equipment that I still struggle to wrap my head around. I mean, it's pretty amazing, really, what can be had for 6,500 bucks. You know, it's obviously it has ABS. That's nothing spectacular, but it has for a $6,500 bike, it has a fully adjustable KYB fork on the front, spring preload, and then compression and rebound dampening, fully adjusted. On the back, I don't know if that's a KYB shock on the back, might be. It has spring preload and rebound dampening adjustment. While we're on the suspension, the factory linkage in the back allows you to lower the bike another inch if you want. I think the seat height's right at 32 inches, and I can pretty much darn near flat foot the bike in the tall position. The suspension is on the stiff side. Everything's set in the middle. I'm a 210-pound rider. She's a little stiff, which that's way better than being a little soft, right? No complaints there. We'll see how it functions off-road. So yeah, that's what you get suspension-wise. Did we mention the tubeless tires? I mean, that's a big thing for some people. It used to be for me. It's not really that big of a deal anymore. I've changed enough tubes or patched enough tubes off-road that, whatever. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer to patch a tube than to plug a tire, but it is, I guess, somewhat of a selling point, but it's not as important to me as it is to some people, apparently, because, I mean, they poo-poo on things that don't have tubeless tires. The engineering and the mechanical aspects of things on this bike, just looking at it, everything seems to be designed, you know, on the Japanese level or even higher. And that's kind of scary. And they probably learned that from building bikes for KTM. The rear chain adjusters, for example, that's a work of art. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a mechanic and things like that, you know, grab my attention, but I don't know. You get a color display. You get two different, I think, what do they call them? Themes? And then if you look at the display here, I'm messing around with it and trying to pay attention to traffic. You got the rear ABS on off. You've got traction control on off and upshift alert on off. You can pair a phone, you can pair a helmet. Let's see, what else can we do here? Oh yeah, you can do themes. We just talked about that. So we got this theme here, or we got that theme. We'll set that for a second and back all the way out so you guys can see what it looks like. So you got a vertical theme, you got a horizontal theme. I kind of like the other one better. Along that discussion, there's plenty of information, and you can actually adjust what you want to display in there. So right now I've got total mileage, and I don't know if that's a trip meter or the odometer. Haven't dove into it that much. You've got the fuel telling me I can go 116 miles, and there's a fuel gauge right below that. I have a voltage readout, which is cool. More information for me, the better. Mechanical, and I'm a pilot, so, you know, things like that matter to me. Maybe not to you. Engine temperature. Gear indicator, that's kind of nice. Not huge on gear indicators, but I can see where that's a really big, big plus for some people. And obviously along the left hand side you've got the traction control, and I think you can turn ABS and traction control on and off on the fly. Let's try it with this button right here. See what happens. There you go, it's an off-road now. Oh, I touched it again by accident, sorry. Or maybe it won't stay up if you do it on the fly. That's interesting. Or do I have to let off the throttle? Sometimes you have to let off the throttle to acknowledge. There you go. So you let off the throttle and it'll stay in off-road mode. Now my traction control, and I'm guessing the traction control, and I see that the ABS is off. And then you want to go back, you just tap it, you're back in road mode. I've yet to see if I leave it in off-road mode, if I cycle the key, does it reset? I'm assuming it does. That's pretty common. Common and annoying. My BMW does not do that. My friend's KTM does not do that. All the Asian bikes do that. Don't know. Different lawyers, different mindset. But anyway. Oh yeah, there we go. It says actually ODO on there, 50 miles. So instead of trip meter, it's telling me right now I'm getting 76 miles to the gallon, which might even be better if I shift into 6, right? 6 gear. DRZ doesn't have 6 gears. Anyway, the controls feel good. They don't feel cheap. They feel very Honda-like. I'm not even joking. The levers are fully adjustable. They're clickers. It has a set of fat bars on it, tapered fat bars. I mean, that's kind of a wild thing. It does not have cruise control because it's a drive-by-wire, so cruise control would be a little more involved maybe. So I'll have to get a throttle lock if I plan on doing any trips on it, and I will do trips on it. The mirrors, the factory mirrors are pretty darn amazing. They are perfectly clear, they are not buzzy, and they fold up. That's kind of cool. But probably the sweetest part of this bike is that 450 engine with a 270 crank. It just gives it so much character. It makes it easier to gel with the bike. I mean, I already love this bike. It's, oh man, I don't even know. Can't explain it. And of course I'm getting a lot of questions because, you know, I have a Versys 300 and a lot of my videos are about the Versys 300, and I'm getting a lot of questions from the Versys guys, you know, is it that much better? Well, good and bad news, depending on how you want to look at it. It's better in every single way. I can't think of a single thing on the Versys that's better than this bike. And that's not taken away from the Versys. The Versys is an amazing motorcycle. And it's an old design. I think the first one came out in 2027 or 2017, right? It's not 27 yet. Whoa. What are we in the future? But anyway, yeah, it came out in 2017. This is a 2025, so you know we're what 9 year development differences there. Of course, this is going to be better. I can say Kawasaki with the KLE 500 has its work cut out for it, because this thing just set a benchmark that if you don't get here on this level, listen to that motor. If you don't reach this benchmark at this price point, you're screwed. I mean, if anybody does any homework at all, right? And of course, there's always going to be the issue, the political issue, but it's Chinese. Yeah, it is. And so is 90% of the stuff in our houses right now. But I understand that argument, I really do. There were no tariffs on this bike. So CFMoto is either eating the tariffs or they're a lie. I don't get too political, but I know there's a lot of bullshit out there. People get their news on social media and they warp their sense of reality. But anyway, yeah, so no tariff added to this bike. I paid MSRP, tax, license, that was it. Compared to the Versys, keep in mind my Versys has modified suspension. This suspension is leaps and bounds better, like way better. Again, not taking anything away from the Versys. It's an amazing bike. It really is. I like my Versys. I'm impressed with what it can do off-road, considering it's not really an off-road bike. My brother, like I said, just did 1,500 miles on it, and he really punished it on some technical riding, getting out to Tui Campground and Turley Lookout Point on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. I mean, there'll be video. We throttled things, man. There was rock climbing, there was rock jumping, there was sand pits, there was baby heads, there were boulders, there were, oh my God, there was everything. In fact, I started to question, should I be here on my GS? But in the end, it made us all better riders, and I have the utmost confidence now in my GS and its abilities and how to control the bike better in the various situations, right? Sand, rocks, whatever. Lugging it. But anyway, back to this bike. Or we were talking about the Versys, weren't we? Anyway, yeah, my brother was literally beating the tar out of that poor Versys. Not abusing it, but just putting it through things it was never designed to be put through. We put up, everybody bottomed out on the rocks because we did some serious rock climbing to get to the lookout. Oil. And he bottomed out pretty hard because of that limited ground clearance of that bike. And the Ricochet skid plate took it all. It has a big old gouge in it now, but it took it, and it slightly bent the mounting bracket in the front and back. Just a little. I'm going to take it all apart and pound it back flat, put it back together. But we did some field modifications to keep the exhaust away from the skid plate and continue to motor on. But yeah, so suspension wise, this thing's leaps and bounds better than, well, the whole bike is, but suspension wise, there's no comparison. You know, my brother and my son both spent a lot of time on the Versys in the last 3 or 4 days, and they rode this and they said it's not even really fair to compare it, because it's like, and this is my son's words because he's a KTM fanboy. You know, he said it's like comparing a KTM 350 EXE to, you know, a KLX 300. There's just no comparison. You know, why would you bother comparing those bikes? It's a different league. In this case, they're in the pretty close to the same price point. I mean, it'll be more fair to compare this to the 500. But yeah, the suspension obviously is way better, mainly because it's fully adjustable, and it's just designed to be more durable and to support more weight in different circumstances or different situations. The engine, now whereas the Versys is a Ninja 250/300 engine, it loves to rev and has to rev to get its claimed 40 horsepower. I believe it's 40 horsepower. This engine, there's power everywhere. You can lug it, you can downshift and give it a little throttle and take off. There's acceleration power between 75 and 90 miles an hour. It's just, I don't know. Here I am, accelerating up a hill in 6. You know, that right there alone explains everything. The extra 450 cc or 150 cc's and the design of the engine is just better. I don't know why Kawasaki insists on sticking with traditional parallel twins without a 270 crank, but unfortunately I think the 500 is going to have a standard traditional, what would you call that, a 360 crank where both pistons go up and down at the same time? Because a 180 would be one up, one down, right? So anyway, there's just a lot more torque to be had and to play with on this motor. And the engine, even though with the revs at highway speed or a little high, the engine doesn't seem to be struggling. You know what I mean? It's not that the Versys is struggling, it's just screaming. And I'm sure it enjoys it. It's a Ninja engine, it's supposed to scream. But for the rider sometimes on longer trips, it's a little fatiguing. This guy ends up being about, I don't know, 700 RPM, 700 to 800 RPM per 10 miles an hour, right? So here I am at, a little over 5,000 RPM, and I'm at 55 miles an hour, so, and that's 6th gear. That trend continues obviously all the way up. Some reviewers have said they feel the gearing is too high. It's funny how you look at it. Is it too high, too low? To me, the gearing is, if you're going to say anything, it's too low. You have, the bike is geared, for higher RPM at lower speeds. So there may be an advantage to putting a 15-tooth sprocket on the front. I might give it a try. I don't know. Right now, I'm just riding it, and it seems fine. I think it seems fine because at 70 miles an hour, it's not really struggling. It's just moseying along. And that's such a more confident feeling than an engine doing 9,000 RPM between your legs, I don't know. I really liked the Versys, but there were things about it I didn't like. And this bike basically solves all the issues I ever had with the Versys. So yeah, battery died, but that's okay because I was probably just blabbing about dumb crap anyway, right? So now we can move on to the highway portion of Will It Commute. Look at that, the high beam's on. That light is red, so I can go. Love that engine. I suspect the highway portion here with this little windscreen is not going to be as pleasant as the mountain ride was, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Might be a engine break-in rule violation for the next 10 miles. If I keep it under 65, I'll probably get run over. Yeah, the power delivery, it just feels like a normal motorcycle instead of a screaming banshee. Kind of nice, I'm not gonna lie. Here we are at 70, which is probably, I don't know, I don't have my GPS turned on, probably 67, 68 is typical. And we're what, 6,700 RPM maybe? Let's see, what do we get at 7,000 RPM? We get 75. What is it, red line's at 8,500? Yeah, this is actually comfortable. Hell, the wind flow or turbulence isn't even that bad. Without the puke visor, yeah, this is probably an earplug moment. I don't have earplugs in. Is there any power left? Oh yeah, it actually pulled. Look at that. Right up to 8,000. Crept back up to 75 unknowingly. So yeah, she's a cruiser on the highway. It's 70, 75 all day long. I can feel it. There's no vibrations, there's no noise, there's no tingling, there's just 75 miles an hour. There could be better wind protection, I'm not gonna lie. It's not causing any vibrations on my visor or my bill. Some people call it a peak. I call it a visor. Yeah. I mean, this is a shield. That's a visor. Whatever. Hey guys, made it home from work. Commute went without a hitch. So yeah, commuting in the dark now on the way home is interesting, but that allowed me to, test out the lights. And the lights are good. I wanted to add that in there. Also, play with the display a little bit more. You can pair a helmet. If you have a Bluetooth intercom, you can pair a phone. You can control your music. You can make and receive phone calls. There is no navigation, turn by turn or whatsoever. But the Bluetooth headset and phone pairing works pretty good. You lose connection when you turn off the key. I had to stop and get gas, turn off the key, but as soon as you power back up, the phone and the helmet connected right away. Let's see, what else was there that we discovered on the way home? That might be it. Just wanted to correct that thing because I think I mentioned that it had navigation. It does not have navigation. Oh, it does have over-the-air software updates. So you can go into the display, and I believe it's in the settings menu, and there's an option to connect to a Wi-Fi. Obviously, the Wi-Fi needs to be connected to the internet, and it will check for software updates for the ECU and the head unit. I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, you can move certain things around on the display. You can view trip meter or odometer, or you can view temperature, or you can view whatever's important to you. Other than that, the commute home was uneventful. The seat, I'm gonna give the seat a 5 out of 10. I don't love it, I don't hate it. They did a pretty good job of creating a seat that had, I think they used, foam. The density of the foam varies in the seat because it does create two hot spots right on your butt cheeks, but there seems to be a section down the middle where there's no pressure on your tailbone. So I think there's more dense foam along the edges. So I don't know. We'll have to do a few more rides before the jury's out or in on that, on the seat. There is, I'm trying to think of the negative things I found. There's so few. So the seat is one of them. It's not really a negative. It's probably perfectly okay for some people, and other people are gonna hate it. It's not a bad seat. It's not a great seat. It's not a good seat. It's just a seat. There is still a part throttle burble below 3,500 RPM. I'm sure a lot of people, ride the bike and work around it, but it's there. It's not bad. If I remember right, my old SV650 had the same thing. So there's something going on with the fueling at part throttle in that RPM range, 3,500 and below. We'll see how that affects off-road ability, right? I think it would be greatly exaggerated if you put a 1/2 larger sprocket on the front. And so maybe, the reports of people having, big hesitation issues is because they switched to a 15-tooth sprocket. Just a guess on my part. But those two things are my only negatives that I found. And I did about 120 miles today. Looks like I got around 52 miles per gallon. Yeah, I don't know. The headlight, like I said earlier, is great. It's one of the better headlights I've ever seen on a stock motorcycle. Works really, really well. And I guess that's about it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see or hear or want me to do with this IBEX. Other than give it away, I ain't giving it away. I love the bike, it's really cool. I've never been this impressed on a motorcycle that didn't cost above $10,000. It's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway, you guys have a good one.